On today's video, I am going to talk about Keris Pamur. What is it about these seemingly random silver squiggly lines that has everyone talking about luck and charm? Keep watching to find out more. Welcome to the Kris Collector Show, the ultimate vodcast for growing your collecting skills through online video. If this is the first time you are hearing the word kris, a kris is a traditional asymmetrical double-edged dagger exclusively unique to the people from the Malay archipelago. My name is Khairi Johari, better known as Pak Joffrey, the Kris Collector from Singapore, and you are watching the Kris Collector Show. This channel is dedicated to helping you develop a healthy collecting habit and learn how to profit from the latest collecting trends, reviews, and helpful guides. So, if you are interested to increase your knowledge on this subject matter, then this YouTube channel is definitely for you. So, without further ado, let's roll the intro and get on with the show. Do I need to powder my nose or something? Good, do I look good? Skills and Okay, hi guys, and welcome to the Kris Collector Show. I hope you are all in good health and positive spirit always. We are at episode 10 of our weekly show. We have reached a milestone in our journey on YouTube. 10 episodes dedicated for beginners. Now, we still have a long way to go, many more related topics I would like to share with all of you, and I look forward to be your personal guide on this subject on YouTube. More videos in the future, inshallah, yeah? It's been quite an experience so far. Along the way, I have experimented with other video segments like Feature Fridays, bonus video guides, and YouTube Shorts. I must say that with each style of content, I learned something new. From the technicalities of production to the broadcast of intended message for each video types, always something new to learn as a YouTube content creator. In future videos, I will also be rolling out content segments that may not be directly related to the kris itself, but quintessential in becoming a holistic and all-rounded, robust, dynamic, call it what you will, informed collector. I would like to take this opportunity to shout out to my esteemed mentor and guide, brother Sean Cannell from Think Media, who was the main influencer that motivated my transition from a mere YouTube consumer to YouTube content creator. I highly encourage aspiring YouTubers to check out the Think Media channel. I've been following them since 2015, and personally, I feel their presence and dominance in education within the YouTube creators ecosystem is fundamentally unchallenged. Now, you all might be thinking at this point in time if this episode is sponsored by Think Media. Well, no, it's not. This is just a personal sharing on my part. A few other notable mentions are Pat Flynn and Caleb Wojcik, the dynamic duo responsible for the SwitchPod. In case you are wondering what a SwitchPod is, subscribe now to stay informed of an upcoming video that will feature this fantastic must-have tool for every video content creator. Now, having said all that, you can only learn so much from attending courses, reading up self-help books, watching video guides and all, but the real learning comes from execution. In the end, you have to do it. In the words of the man himself, Sean Cannell, you have to punch fear in the face and hit that record button. Now, I know this epilogue is a bit longer than usual, but do bear with me. After all, this is the 10th episode, a milestone worth celebrating. To be a consistent content creator specifically on YouTube is no easy feat. Now, a quick recap. I formally started my YouTube journey back on 21st April of 2021 with 0 subscribers. And as of the time of this recording, I have hit about 200 subscribers count and over 5,000 views. All this would not have been possible without your continued support, encouragement, and feedback. My gratitude and thanks to all of you subscribers and returning viewers. I thank you all very much for your viewership and subscription. For returning viewers, if you have not hit that subscribe button, do consider subscribing to stay updated and informed of my latest video uploads. On today's video, I'm continuing where I last left off. I am still talking about kris blades. In the previous episode, I shared my thoughts that all kris blades are meteoric in origin. If you missed that episode, catch it right here. Today we are going deeper on this subject. I will be sharing about Pamur, the silverish squiggly lines found on many traditional kris blades, with the exception of the Melayu and Kelingan types that are by design void of any Pamur patterns. Just what exactly is Pamur? Now, let's examine the root word of Pamur. Derived from the Javanese language, the root word being war, which translates to Malay campur, loosely translated to English as a mixture. How two or more different elements or metal types successfully mix and unite through a series of processes that involves high temperatures, removal of impurities through hammering, and finally, strengthened through rapid cooling. Up to this point, I hope it is evidently clear to you that a kris blade is not made by casting, meaning it is not made by having molten metals poured into a mold and subsequently shaped and designed to form a kris. Instead, it is made from one billet which was produced by interlayering a series of different classes of metal types, fused together through several processes of heating, hammering, folding, tempering, and finally shaping to the desired style and design. Typically in a kris blade, four classes of metals used in combination generally are besi baja, besi tawar, besi pamur, besi Melayu. Now, it is important that we should not conclude that the metal classes are limited to just these four types. As I have mentioned in my previous video, the art of manipulating metals by the pandai besi is a closely guarded tradition and steeped in secrecy. For ease of discussion, we will limit to these four classification terms. Suffice to say that we as the end consumer need not concern ourselves too much with the secrets of their trade. Simply put, what purpose does it serve to us, even if the secret is revealed? Are we going to utilize that knowledge? Are we going to be producing the next jaw-dropping kris masterpiece? If we are not going to be doing that, then I see no reason why we need to be obsessively concerned with the specifics and details. Suffice to be contented knowing that the art produced with the knowledge from the pandai besi or empu is assured in terms of quality and craftsmanship. The art of the kris is steeped in tradition and what we Malays refer to as adab, loosely translated to meaning courtesy and etiquette. A frequently quoted prose in Malay, adab mendahului ilmu. Now, I could not translate it any better than the courtesy and etiquette surpasses knowledge. It is pointless if one has all the knowledge in the world but lacking in manners and courtesy. Courtesy is our way of life. If you are still genuinely interested to explore the inner secrets of the metals and the craft of the pandai besi of Nusantara, the best route would be to visit an empu or pandai besi and request with courtesy to be accepted as an apprentice. That is a pathway to go if you aspire to be a learned kris maker in the future. Me, I am a collector. I appreciate this art and respect the secrets of the trade from those who are actively producing them the traditional way. Hence, I do not concern myself with in-depth specifics. If that information is deemed sensitive to share by the pandai besi or empu and they are not forthcoming with sharing to non-empus, then we have to respect their standing on that matter. Let it also be made known that the pandai besis bear the brunt of risks when working with metals. Some metals, when heated, releases toxic and noxious fumes which may be detrimental to health and life of the pandai besi. There have been stories of how foolhardy young apprentices who thought they were wiser and bolder than their masters and experimented with metal elements without fully understanding the chemical composition and proceeded to work with risky elements. The end result, no doubt a rare and quality metal billet is formed, but at the cost of health and life of the apprentice involved in the preparation. In Malay, there is a saying, biar pandai, jangan memandai-mandai, which means intelligence will serve you well, but if you get too smart for your own good, being heedless, reckless, and disregarding traditional wisdom from the mentors out of pride and arrogance, the end result will be a fool's errand. One may end up successfully producing a fantastic material for use, but at what cost? A steep price to pay at the expense of one's own life. Anyway, I think I have digressed too far off. What were we talking about again for today? Oh yes, Pamur, right. Here is a fun fact. The West often dismisses the term Pamur and replaces it with the word damascene, or crudely referred to as pattern welding. I personally find it degrading to associate Keris Pamur techniques and bring it to the same level as that of Damascene sword or knife blades from Damascus. Does not do justice to the art of the kris, which is uniquely Nusantara. In Damascus, they have their own sword making traditions. Leave it as that. Their production method is in no way similar to that of kris production techniques and vice versa. For a long time, this is what the West has been good at. Blanket casting and displacing indigenous cultures and traditions and setting their ignorant footing where it does not rightfully belong. To which I say this bigotry must be brought to an end. The West essentially has no right to present their findings based on one fundamental fact. The secrets of the kris craft has never been fully shared with the West in completeness, and neither have they dutifully translated what has been shared accurately. Hence, any non-native work has to be taken with a pinch of salt. That is why I keep repeating that if culturally you are not a Malay, I repeat again, culturally you are not a Malay, it would be very difficult for you to grasp the deeper meanings and philosophies behind the art of the kris. I'm not trying to be a bigot here, but it is what it is. Okay, moving on, when it comes to Pamur, there are countless permutations of Pamur types. So many to a point that I no longer concern myself to commit to memory the Pamur names. However, what I would recommend is to commit to memory the techniques employed to produce these Pamur types. Essentially, the basic fundamental layout used by most empus or pandai besi in producing a blade with Pamur are two styles of arrangements: the melumah style and the miring style. It is safe to conclude that by design, most kris blades with Pamur are engineered. They were made with the end in mind. What this means, before even starting the project, the empu or pandai besi already has the expected results in his heart and mind. Employing his knowledge and experience, he will proceed with the production of the billet that will be used to finalize the form of the kris blade. The process of producing the billet alone, before it can even be considered for use for the production of the kris blade itself, will take a few months. For those unfamiliar with the overall process, traditionally this will be the process flow. Number 1, contemplation. Focus on the intent and visualizing the end goal in the mind's eye, also calculating the auspicious start date. Gathering of materials, ritual feast for blessing and good luck. Commencement of work, processing the raw materials to turn them into a finalized billet suitable for use in the creation of the kris blade. This initial process alone can take a few months. It is a back-breaking work. Not as easy as Cody class blades, which are usually made from scrap metals and recycled materials. It is worth mentioning that Kodian class blades are not made by one who is given the formal title of an empu or recognized as a pandai besi by the community. These days, just because one can make a kris, the title of empu and pandai besi becomes a self-proclaimed title. In a traditional setting, this is not the case, yeah? A pandai besi or empu will have to reach a level of mastery in his craft before he can be assigned such a recognition. Now, back to the formation basics of Pamur design. Essentially, there are two Pamur arrangement types: melumah and miring. I will now explain the simplest Pamur arrangement first. Pamur melumah essentially is the easiest to produce. It is made by layering different metal classes horizontally, one on top of the other. For example, the central core is a besi baja. From raw components, the baja billet or plate is prepared and positioned in the center of the arrangement. Next, the besi tawa, followed by the besi pamur. How many layers will be intermixed on both sides ultimately rests on the inspiration received by the pandai besi or the empu. This stack is then heated, and relying on the color of the layered mix, the empu will proceed with hammering the mix to fuse the stack together. This layer is then heated, hammered and folded, and this process will be repeated until the empu deems satisfactory. This process of hammering and folding and hammering again is backbreaking and time-consuming. This is the part of the process that will take months to complete. Empus are meticulous in their craft and will not be satisfied with a shoddy job. Once the material has been successfully fused, then actual work on crafting the kris blade begins. It has been documented that sometimes the billet is made by one pandai besi and handed over to the next person, which is skilled at sculpting the richikan detail and finalizing the kris blade, hence reducing the wait time for the next order. However, it is tradition that this task too is mostly done by the same person who crafted the main billet. This is an example of a blade with a Pamur melumah technique applied in its production. You can see the layered arrangement one on top of the other, separated by different besi class types. What you are not able to see, however, is how many folds was taken during its billet production stage. The next more complicated style to work with is the Pamur miring. Essentially, the sheets or plates of different metals are layered in the same manner as a Pamur melumah, but with an additional step involved. This time, when it is ready to be finalized, the plate is positioned upwards at a 90 degrees angle, meaning when turned at 90 degrees, you can now see the number of layers of different metals and roughly how many folds was done to the billet. That's the key difference once you have limited fold view of metals used and the other, a full view of the number of folds present. It is worth noting that Pamur miring requires much more attention to detail during initial production. If there is any error during the process of hammering, heating and cooling, a miring arrangement billet may split and fall apart. This is an example of a blade with a palm mirroring technique applied in its production. Now you can see the layered arrangement of different besi class types, and also you are able to see the number of folds taken to produce the billet during its initial production stage. So before you get too obsessed with the seemingly infinite number of Keris Pamur types, it is highly recommended that you understand the technique used in its formation. Mirroring and melumah are essentially fundamental basics of any engineered Pamur design. Most krises with Pamur are engineered from the start. Now, what about the luck or beliefs associated with the Pamur? Generally, the associated beliefs in luck are separated into two distinct categories. For Pamur melumah, it is more for prosperity and good luck, ideally catered for preservation and accumulation of wealth, mostly favored by traders and those in business. Pamur mirroring, on the other hand, is more catered for charisma and influence, ideally catered for leaders and people in seats of power and influence, favored by kings, nobles, and statesmen. I would also like to take this opportunity to include the beliefs of the Kalingan or Malaya types of Keris blades. For the Kalingan or Malaya types, whereby the blade is void of any Pamur, giving it a black and dark appearance, this type of blade, it is catered towards dispelling negativity and bad luck. Keeping negativity at bay, I did not mention this earlier, but the process involved in producing a Kalingan or Malaya type of blade is the same. Heated, hammered, and tempered, with the exception that there is no nickel-based material added to the mix, hence giving it a plain look. To conclude today's episode, I hope you now have a better understanding of Keris Pamur and its basic formation techniques. I may have forgotten to mention this earlier. The process of making the billet prior to shaping into a Keris is back-breaking labor. As I mentioned earlier, to produce a quality billet suitable for use as a Keris blade, the billets are formed from raw materials. Try to visualize this in your mind. Imagine taking 15 kilograms of raw materials, and after all the heating and hammering, the final output suitable for conversion to a Keris blade is only about 1 to 3 kilograms. That's like 5 times loss of total start weight. So you tell me if it's something that one produces out of fun, or there is a deeper meaning into it that spurs on the empus and pandai besis of today to continue keeping the traditional ways alive. Also, now that you have a better understanding of how a Keris blade is produced, I hope it becomes glaringly clear to you that a Keris is not produced overnight. It takes months, years, even to produce one quality Keris blade. If you come across any dealers selling Kerises by the dozen and all looks identical, you can be assured those are not made in the traditional sense. Me, I classify these belonging to a lower grade of Keris crafting. One may argue they are still Kerises in its definitive sense, but from an artistic and collection standpoint, these are just trinkets that complements cosplay. No collecting value whatsoever. At best, suitable for demonstration and generic exhibit. In terms of intrinsic and artistic value, null, void of any worth at all, and definitely no resale value. In the long run, not worth collecting. In all honesty, these mass-produced Kerises, production cost starts from 25 to 50 Singapore dollars. They are then bought by dealers who then resells them at 3 to 4 times the cost price. That's the reality of mass-produced Kerises. For me, I don't believe in all these mass production pieces. I have sampled a few over the years and hands down my verdict. Quality is rubbish. Aesthetics is atrocious. Durability down the drain. A lot to take in from this episode alone. In the next episode, I will share on what makes a good kris and share my checklist that I go through when grading a kris. At this point in time, I hope you are still with me and have yet to experience a massive headache yet, yeah? As we dive deeper into this subject, it is going to get more interesting and confusing at the same time. For some. But if you are going to set yourself out to be a serious collector, these are basic foundations that you must understand and grasp before you progress any further. Enjoy the journey of learning and then pass on what you have learned. We have come to the end of today's episode. Thank you for watching till the end. I hope today's videos adds value to you and that you have learned something from watching this. I look forward to reading your feedback in the comment section, so please feel free to comment. If you like what you have watched today and feel that more useful video guides are required, please show me your support by clicking the like, subscribe and bell notification icon. So until we meet in the next video, this is Khairi Johari, better known as Pak Jofe, the Kris Collector from Singapore, snapping out. See you in my next video. Bye bye.